As a mature student, I've had the privilege of watching technology change over the years. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, where although things were not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, it was a breeding ground for social change. So social change really had its roots in that kind of environment where it started to foster and change and bubble. One of my favorite memories as a child was receiving a portable record player and these books that had records in the back. Portable record players were a big deal back in the day. My parents were immigrants and English was a second language, and they wanted to make sure that I was literate and able to converse in English going into kindergarten. So these books were like a lifeline for me. What really set me off, though, in my journey in technology was when I received my first 35mm camera, and that was just the start of everything. However, it was my father that actually was my most influential person in technology. He was a technical junkie, still is to this day, and he introduced me to Apple, and more specifically the Macintosh computer, this giant clunker of a thing that sat on my desk, not portable by any means, with a whopping 128K of memory, much more advanced than the typewriters or the Commodore 64s that we were learning on in high school. My father always made sure that I had the latest. By the time I hit university, there I was set up with my Macintosh computer and my daisy wheel printer, the latest and greatest that money could buy. This printer shook so violently that I had to keep it on top of a pillow, otherwise it would shake right off the table. And the O, whenever it printed, would leave a nice tiny hole where the letter should have been. But through it all, cameras are always my thing. And my very first job was as a photo developer for a company called Direct Film. And I continued to work there until the demise of the film industry, when people started to switch over to digital photography. Nothing influences you quite like losing your job when you've got rent, tuition, and student loans. Outside of my computer and my printer, I was responsible for my own technology if I wanted something new. Went from record player to portable cassette player to my very first Sony Walkman. This was a big deal, a Discman. When music migrated from vinyl to CD, there were a lot of discussions about sound quality, which all changed when the digital music player came out, because then all of a sudden it was about how much music we could store on those things. We can't talk about technology without talking about the cell phone. The cell phone revolutionized a lot of things. How many of you can say that you owned one of every version of the cell phone from the very beginning? I can. Technology is a staple in my life now, absolutely. Digital photographer. I have my iPhone, my MacBook, my Apple TV. If I need to find how to get somewhere, I open up Google Maps. If I need to find a kid, one of my kids, I open up Find Friends. There's an app for just about everything, including turning on your lights, lowering your thermostat. I listen to podcasts and audiobooks when I drive. I don't think I've listened to the radio in, I can't tell you how long. I play Wordle before I go to bed, and yes, I make TikToks. When I told my kids about this digital literacy course, they all agreed that this was definitely in my wheelhouse. They're always amazed at just how digitally literate I am. At my age, I'm not entirely sure if that's a compliment or a backhanded insult. I'll get back to you on that one. Now, as an adult, I love modeling my skill set to students, primarily in photography. That's probably the thing I'm most proud of. I do not have a teacher's degree, but I have been blessed to be invited to participate as a volunteer in our local high school, in the contact classes, and in the yearbook club. But there are always additional important elements that I always make sure to incorporate in everything that I do, and those include inclusivity, diversity, and social justice. They're encouraged to include everything, to research everything, make sure that they know everything there is to know about the school and everything that's included, including sports, clubs, and events, of course, but also things like the tech classes, culinary class, construction class, electrical class, cosmetology. And we wouldn't be able to emphasize inclusivity if we didn't also put an emphasis on the special ed classes, things like planning for independence and communication classes. We discuss at the start of every yearbook cycle inclusivity and how the students are responsible to go out there and to find out everything, absolutely everything that the school offers is involved in. Our particular high school is a very sports-centric school, so sometimes what happens is the kids get lost in the sports aspect of it, and we sometimes fail to realize that there's so much more going on in the school. We like to incorporate things that are happening globally. We encourage them to pick the issues, to explore them, to expand on them, and then to report on them. Because your book is essentially a time capsule between September and June, and everything that's happened in that particular year. For example, last year, support for Ukraine was a really big topic. The result is always like a rich, meaningful dialogue where the kids get really involved and their minds are opened, and they get to go beyond their bubbles and really expand the things that they know, because it's a way for me to take my lifelong experiences, the evolution in technology, and pay it forward to the next generation and build and expand so that they can go forward and build and expand their own journey. What am I looking for to get out of this class? I'm hoping to stay relevant. I'm able to offer these kids the ability to be creative and to take these tools and take it to the next level. So that's my goal. How that looks coming forward, I'm not sure yet. I'll let you know.